says that we should drop the world's bait. Don't be tempted by all the pleasures in the world, because if you want to enjoy the pleasures in the world, you can never get out of the world. And this world is unsatisfactory, dukkha. The fifth sutta, at Savatthi, standing to one side, that Devata recited this verse in the presence of the Blessed One. How many must one cut? How many abandon? And how many further must one develop? When the bhikkhu has surmounted how many ties, is he called a crosser of the flood? And the Buddha said, one must cut off 5, abandon 5, and must develop a further 5. A bhikkhu who has surmounted 5 ties is called a crosser of the flood. So here the Deva is asking, how many things must one cut? How many things must one abandon? And how many things further must one develop? Can you cross the flood? And the Buddha says, this one, we have to refer to the later books, and this is the explanation. One must cut off 5 lower fetters, and then one must abandon 5 other things, and when one must develop the 5 faculties, and then you must surmount 5 other ties. Now what are these things? The 5 lower fetters that you have to cut off to be liberated. One is the identity view, Sakaya Ditti. That means you identify yourself as somebody. And another of the lower fetters is doubt. And then the third is attachment to rules and rituals, Sila Bhatta Paramasa. And the fourth is sensual desire, and the fifth is ill will. Lee, can you bring him away? So, if a person cuts off these 5 lower fetters, this one that I just mentioned, identity view, doubt, attachment to rules and rituals, sensual desire and ill will, he becomes an anagamin. An anagamin, the third fruit, Arya, has abandoned the 5 lower fetters. And then the Buddha said, I must abandon 5 other things. Abandon lust for form, lust for the formless world, conceit, restlessness and ignorance. These are the remaining fetters. There are 10 fetters that we have to eliminate to become liberated. So the first 5 are the 5 lower fetters, and the next 5 are the 5 higher fetters. And then to achieve that, you have to develop the 5 faculties. These 5 faculties, which are very helpful to enlightenment. The first one is faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And then energetic effort in making effort. Then recollection or sati. Then concentration, samadhi. And wisdom, panya. These are the 5 faculties that we have to develop to attain liberation or enlightenment. And then the 5 ties that we have to surmount is lust, hatred, delusion, conceit and views. 5 ties, the 5 sangha, S-A-N-G-A. So these are the things that we have to abandon and eliminate, develop, etc. to become liberated. The 6th sutta, 1.6, at Savatthi, standing to one side, that Devata recited this verse in the presence of the Blessed One. How many are asleep when others are awake? How many are awake when others asleep? By how many does one gather dust? By how many is one purified? And the Buddha said, 5 are asleep when others are awake. 5 are awake when others asleep. By 5 things one gathers dust. By 5 things one is purified. So here what does the Buddha mean? 5 are asleep when others are awake, and 5 are awake when others are asleep. These refer to the 5 hindrances and the 5 faculties. When your 5 faculties are asleep, then your 5 hindrances are awake. But when your 5 faculties are awake, then your 5 hindrances are asleep. They are like kind of opposite to each other. They are opposed to each other. And then one gathers dust, means the dust of defilements, by 5 things. The 5 hindrances make us have this dust of defilements. And 5 things make us purified, are the 5 faculties. Just now I mentioned the 5 faculties. Faith, energy, recollection, concentration and wisdom makes one purified. The 7th Sutta at Savatthi. Standing to one side, that Devata recited this verse in the presence of the Blessed One. Those who have not penetrated things, who may be led into others' doctrines, fast asleep, they have not yet awakened. It is time for them to awaken. And the Buddha said, those who have penetrated things well, who cannot be led into others' doctrines, those awakened ones, having rightly known, fare evenly amidst the uneven. So, when the Buddha says, those who have penetrated things well, who cannot be led into others' doctrines, the Buddha refers to the Aryans, the eight Aryans, the 4 paths and the 4 fruitions. And the awakened ones, or the fully awakened ones, are the Buddhas and the Arahant disciples. But you can include the Aryans also, because they are on their way to out of samsara. The 8th Sutta at Savatthi. Standing to one side, that Devata recited this verse in the presence of the Blessed One. Those who are utterly muddled about things, who may be led into others' doctrines, fast asleep, they have not yet awakened. It is time for them to awaken. And the Buddha said, those who are unmuddled about things, who cannot be led into others' doctrines, those awakened ones, having rightly known, fare evenly amidst the uneven. So the Deva is talking about ordinary beings, Putujanas, and the Buddha is talking about Aryans. The 9th Sutta at Savatthi. Standing to one side, that Devata recited this verse in the presence of the Blessed One. There is no taming here for one fond of conceit, nor is there sagehood for the unconcentrated. Though dwelling alone in the forest, heedless, one cannot cross beyond the realm of death. And the Buddha said, having abandoned conceit, well concentrated, with lofty mind, everywhere released, while dwelling alone in the forest, diligent, one can cross beyond the realm of death. These devas, because they are in the forest, sometimes they see monks coming into the forest to practice. Sometimes they come alone. But some of them, like here, the Deva says, fond of conceit, still has the ego. So one cannot let go of the ego. One cannot cross beyond the realm of death. And then also one who is unconcentrated. So the Deva says, though dwelling alone in the forest, heedless, one cannot cross beyond the realm of death. Sometimes certain monks, they go and live alone in the forest, but they are not using effort, or not using effort in the right way. So even though they seem to dwell alone, but they cannot attain liberation. But the Buddha says, if a person abandons conceit and cultivates concentration, then dwelling in the forest alone and diligence is very important. Then only you can cross the realm of death. 10th Sutta at Savatthi, standing to one side, that Devata recited this verse in the presence of the Blessed One. Those who dwell deep in the forest